Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today, we unbox and review the Epiphone Muse. The Muse series is one of those new guitars from Epiphone's Modern collection, and I think they were hoping this was going to be a big hit, because they offer you kind of a modernized Les Paul or an SG, and they give you like so many different finish options. And I've been waiting for this one like all year long just for this color to finally come in stock. Because if you missed it, I reviewed the Wanderlust green version of the Les Paul, which I thought that was a pretty cool guitar, but ultimately I still preferred the Les Paul Modern. But this was actually ordered through my new Guitar Day program as a birthday present. So a special happy birthday goes out to Uncle Brian. Not my Uncle Brian, but somebody's Uncle Brian. This video is dedicated to every Uncle Brian out there in the world, but there's one that's just a little bit more special than all the rest. And you know who you are because this guitar is on its way to your doorstep as we're speaking. But very cool. Let's check out this Purple Pasion metallic version. I'm really looking forward to this. Oh my, that is a pink guitar. I mean, it's kind of pinkish and purple. I don't know why I'm unboxing it like a lefty. I guess it's lefty day too. Always trying new stuff here on the channel. Lefty unboxing style. That looks pretty nice. I actually like that truss rod cover, the way that they have the big SG and the little Muse. And no, this has nothing to do with the band Muse. I had some people get confused about that in my first one because I was playing Muse songs on that green Les Paul. But yeah, there she is. That is a sparkly pink guitar with the clear knobs. This would go great in a glam rock band. That's all I've got to say. Or if you got a little girl that wants to start learning guitar, this would be the perfect inspiration piece for her. I mean, that is metallic and in your face. And I gotta say, I dig the choice of the cream backplates. And what is this? Output jack on the side. I did not even know to expect that. I think I have a newfound respect for this model already, because that's one of my favorite things about 80s SGs is they fix the issue of SGs cracking up here because the output jack, it doesn't have enough wood. They put it into the side. So knowing that this Epiphone has that, that's kind of a cool, cheaper alternative. $429 for one of these things. You can choose between Radio Blue, Smoked Almond Metallic. You got the Wanderlust Green, and then Pearl White Metallic, I'm not as big of a fan of. A Scarlet Red, the Purple Pasion Metallic that we're talking about today, then Jet Black Metallic. So in my opinion, it's the Purple Pasion that you want, the Wanderlust Green, and I bet Smoked Almond would look really cool. But then, at the same time, Radio Blue, that's the problem with these things is you never know what color should you really get. So maybe try to visit a shop that happens to have them all in stock if you're really having a hard time choosing. This is a true 2020 model. But first impressions here, let's go ahead and check it out. It doesn't look like we have any type of cracks in the neck or anything. You always want to check on your Epiphones for that because no hard shell case. They've got their packaging really good for the Les Pauls and SGs, not so much the Explorers. All I've got to say is Epiphone must have watched my first unboxing video where we had 4 or 5 of them in a row that had significant fret buzzing issues, because all the ones that have been branded officially 2020, they definitely stepped up their game. I kind of feel bad about that video now because it has like 500,000 views and it's saying, all right, the QC's not so good. But you got to remember, that's just at that particular point in time, the very early 2019s. I won't sugarcoat it. They were kind of bad. They needed a little bit of setup work. But so far, the actual 2020 ones that took a while to get made, they're impressing me as far as their out-of-the-box setup. I cannot find anything immediately wrong with this one. But hey, we can't give it a pass right away. Let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench, take an individual look at its parts and specs, and then we'll get to that playing demo. inside the Epiphone SG Muse. Before we really dig into this, let's first discuss the Epiphone Modern series. There's actually only 3 guitars within this series, starting with the SG Classic Worn P90 at $379. Then at $50 more, you can step up to the Muse, and then for $130 more, you can get the official SG Modern. So the choice between the SG Classic Worn and the Muse, it's really mainly down to personal preference. What type of finish do you want, and do you want P90s or humbuckers? So you can't really A-B comparison them, it's all down to personal preference. But what I really want to discover in this particular video is the difference between the Muse and the Modern. So first off, starting on this, you get the Alnico Pro humbuckers in here. I think the official name is Alnico Classic Pro, but you can see the markings right here on the bottom side of these pickups, labeled Epiphone USA. The SG Moderns get the Epiphone Pro buckers, so that is a slight difference, but they all have the fancy electronics. They both have the coil splitting as well as the phase inversion for the middle position only. So it's just the pickups that will be different between the two. But what I kind of found interesting about this, it's kind of hard to get the pickups out of the way, they've got that barcode in the neck position when it's usually down here in the bridge pickup. But here we can see the serial number as well as it saying SG Muse in the color, but right under here you can actually tell it is a long neck tenon, so the longer the tenon on an SG the better. The routes themselves, they actually look pretty okay. I mean, it looks rough right here, but I think that just has to do with the sparkle metallic nature of the paint. It didn't really hit me though until I took this thing apart that this does not have a pick guard at all. It does have a tenon cover, which I think they probably could have got away with not having it at all, because then you wouldn't have these screw holes here, but I see why they put it there. And as far as the bridge, it's just your standard Epiphone stuff here, nothing too fancy. Metric in style, so you can adjust it using a flathead screwdriver, drilled directly into the body with posts, and your tailpiece is that typical lock tone variety. That's also branded Epiphone. But here's a huge difference between the Muse and the Modern. These do not have a maple top. Now traditionally, an SG does not have a maple top, but the Modern has a maple top with a flamed maple veneer over top of that. So those are very fancy guitars. The only downside to them is they are currently only offered in one finish, and it's trans black. And the Muse has those 7 fruity metallic colors that you can choose from. So in that aspect, I think the Muse wins, but if you don't like sparkly metallic finishes, obviously you probably want to go for the Modern. I'll be honest, this is probably not a color that I would choose for myself. It's got a cool vibe to it, but it's not necessarily something I would want to play every day. But as far as our pickup readings here, the bridge pickup is 7.94 k ohms. You get your neck position of a little less, 7.64. But remember, you can also coil split each of these. So neck 387, bridge 4, and your middle split is around 2, and then what, around 4-ish? Yep. But remember, when you're in the middle position, you can also switch it out of phase to kind of get that quacky tone. Not for every day, but it's nice to have. And once again, both the SG Muse and Modern have this feature, as well as the side output jack. Which I guess if you're a SG diehard fan, you might actually hate the side output jack, but as a Les Paul guy, I love it. Moving on to the neck, here's where the biggest difference is. The Moderns get an ebony fretboard, whereas these guys have the Indian Laurel. That comes down to personal preference on which one you would prefer. I think on that one, I would prefer the ebony over this. Because, I mean, Indian Laurel, it's not too bad, but a lot of times it has a lot of wood grain that you can feel. I mean, listen to this. Now that I think about it, that Epiphone Jr. did not have that, despite kind of being a weird colored fretboard. That's kind of something that was nice about that one. But as far as the fret style, it's the same. 22 medium jumbo frets, 12-inch radius, but your neck profile is a little bit different. They call this the Modern C, whereas the other one's the asymmetrical neck profile. But our nut width is 1.64 inches, and that increases to 2.02 by the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.83. And 0.95 by the 12th. Now, as far as a quick QC note, the nut looked a little bit sloppy when I first got it, and there was a glue stain on the fretboard, so I went ahead and cleaned this and conditioned it. The frets seriously needed a polish job. So if you buy one of these brand new, you might want to do something similar. I also always suggest changing the strings, because the stock Epiphone strings, they're kind of garbage. And the truss rod cover, just like all the other Epiphones that we've reviewed, they drill it in crooked. That's something they really need to fix because it just bugs me. But you've got truss rod access in there, and you can see the mahogany neck. Facing the headstock, you've got that pearloid material for the Epiphone logo as well as the crown. That's the same on both the Muse and the Modern. The difference doesn't really come in until we talk about the tuners on the back. Another thing I would suggest checking if you're buying one of these brand new and you're not necessarily high tech with maintenance, get a little wrench and tighten your tuners. These were actually pretty loose. That'll help them stay in tune as well. You can also just take any type of pencil that you have and mark the inside of the slots. That'll help lubricate those. You can also do that exact same thing with the bridge. Now there's more professional things that you can use, but I just use the pencil technique because it's easy enough. And most people have that handy. And of course, make sure you're wrapping your strings properly on the tuning pegs and stretching your strings in. But moving on to the back here, this is what the inside of the controls look like. So it's based on one of Epiphone's quick connect systems. You can see your 3 push-pull pots here. Then you've just got your regular made in Korea pot right here. Once again, here's our side output jack. You've got a strap button right here, and then the Muse gets it at the base of the heel, the traditional spot, but the Modern actually gets it up on the heel. So if you find that this is not balancing and you need to move it up there, that would be the benefit of doing that. But this is just a complete mahogany body, likely multi-pieced. And same thing goes with the neck. It's kind of nice that they have this metallic finish all over it because you can't tell that this is made of at least 3 pieces. You typically have the heel piece, then you've got the main portion of the neck, and then you'll have a scarf joint right under here. Both of these guitars are made in China, but here's the biggest difference to me that I think it's worth upgrading for. These do not get locking tuners and they're unbranded. They're just Epiphone's 18:1 ratio tuners. Now the locking Grovers, they have the same ratio. I just like locking tuners. They don't necessarily make tuning stability better, they just make it easier to do quicker string changes, and most importantly, for a beginner, it's easier to do string changes because you just have to pull it taut, then you lock it down, and you're good to go. It's not that hard to learn how to wrap strings properly, but if you're not quite there yet, locking tuners definitely makes it easier, and if you are there, it just makes it quicker. But it's also a stylistic thing for me. These kind of look a little bit cheap in my opinion. I like the Grovers that mount down here. But here we can see our serial number dating this one to 2020. So at the end of the day, which one is the winner in my eyes? I would say go for the Modern if you can afford the $130 upcharge. I personally think it's worth it for the ebony fretboard and the locking Grover tuners. I mean, the upgraded pickups, that's definitely a plus, but for me, it's all about the fretboard and the tuners. I hope this helps guide you to which one's best for you. Pretty much the only drawback to that Modern is it's one color and it's not a very traditional looking SG. So once they start offering more colors, that's going to be a game changer. All said and done, this one weighs 6 pounds, 13.9 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and capture some tone samples. Now that we know all about the SG Muse, what are my final thoughts on this thing? For a guitar at $429, it definitely punches well within its level. You're going to be happy with this thing. It's versatile. You got your humbucker tones, you've got your coil split tones for more single coil like stuff, and of course the out of phase if you want to get a little bit quacky. But at the end of the day, I think Epiphone's just done too well with the true modern from both the Les Paul and the SG moderns, to the point where it overshadows the Muse series, because the modern does everything this does, but better, except for the color options. So my ultimate recommendation, go ahead and step up to the modern, because I think you're ultimately going to be more happy with that, unless there is a particular color from the Muse series that speaks to you. Because in my opinion, that's what the Muse series does best. It inspires you, as the name implies, by giving you an instrument that's a very bold and vibrant color. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with these things at $429. I just think it's well worth stepping up to the modern if you like the looks. So I hope you troglodytes enjoyed taking a look at this SG Muse with me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.